You got challenges that you're going to run across.
I never saw what everybody else saw about Detroit. Detroit was, for me, it was everything. I didn't want to ever live anywhere else. It was the Black Mecca. So for me at that particular point, it was everything. From the biggest mansion in the city, it was a Black person, and to the smallest shacks, it was a Black person. I mean, it was more architects, more Black doctors, more Black engineers.
I knew he was kind of smart because the guy never brought home books.
Saw people, politicians, Congress people, mayors, they were all look like me.
He was basically a product of his environment. In the church that we came up in, Shrines of Black Madonna, we taught basically that Black folks had to make their way in this world, that there was nobody riding in to help us. In fact, they were basically against us when we tried to do something.
For me, it was just, one of those cities where you can grow up and believe you could be anything. You could be a firefighter, a police officer. You could be mayor. You could be whatever you wanted to be. You saw that reflection and that presented in somebody in the city.
Out of that environment, he understood what it was that we were attempting to change the way Black folks was living. Basically trying to have the same things in this American culture that everybody else had.
Detroit also had parks and recs, so playing ball, PAL leagues, football. I was very much a part of the community I lived in.
That's why I thought he would be a great politician, because he had that was his background. His mother was when he decided going, his mother was a state rep and went on to Congress. I was a county commissioner. Went on to work in administration in the county.
And my mother was the woman with the afro and the bracelets that was picketing and walking in front of stores. She's something else. And she got in politics. She ran for the state house when I was 8 years old and won that seat.
Our whole political focus was to help Black folks achieve things that they couldn't get by themselves, because there was no help coming from anywhere else. That's the one thing that we always understood, and that's what he understood going into it.
So we were always involved through our church, through our parents and family, with political activism. And so for me, that was my city. Detroit, man, it was nothing compared to it. I went to the public school system there. And so I was a Detroit guy, Detroit kid. Right. Grew up in the boys club, grew up on the PAL teams, grew up in, that. So Detroit was for me. I didn't think anything else was like it. I found out that it wasn't, and plus, it put the world on wheels. So we a car place. So, GM, Ford, Chrysler. Then you also have Motown. So you got Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder and Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson, and everybody's aunt, uncle, father, mother went to school with one of them. So
that was my next question was Motown, man. Did you experience any of that, like, Diana Ross, Supremes, and all? I mean, like, just in being in the area. I know it was Motown days was kind of going away, but
yes.
But did you see any of that?
I didn't see it like my parents saw it. But because I'm from there, we all have an affinity to Motown. So by the time Motown moved to LA, we still got that Motown, like from the Jacksons and all of that. So, but we all know all the Temptation songs and the Four Tops and the Supremes. You still gotta know them. To be a Detroiter, you gotta know some Smokey Robinson. You can't. We take your card if you don't know My Girl or Ain't Too Proud to Beg. I mean, what's wrong with you? So it was that all that was before me. I came around after, but it was very much a part of everybody in my age group's parents' lives. And so Diana Ross went to the same high school I went to. Smokey graduated from high school with my dad, same high school. So it was the same, you kind of got that same thing out there. This is Motown. This is who we are. This is the ingenuity of automotive engineering industry and also of music.
How long has that What Up Though been going around?
I don't know, but it's been since at least the early 80s. Okay. I've been hearing that the early 80s since I was a kid. I saw an episode of BMF, and that's what he was what up though, you know. So that's a Detroit, that's a whole Detroit greeting right there. So that's been around since the early 80s.
Yeah, man, I hear a lot of people saying that. So look, you talk about hip hop in your book, and you know, some of the analogies and some of the stories from KRS-One and things of that sort. How do you feel about it today, though, man? And what does it? I mean, because I know, you know, it changes and things. You know, we can either sound like our grandparents now, but I mean, it's so popular now and it's so part of society. But the effects of it, do you see anything that you feel like needs to be addressed when it comes to that? Like, you know, to that helps, that would help the mentality of African American community, because, you know, we so in depth into it, but it's not like it used to be. So what do you feel about that?
You know, I grew up on Public Enemy and NWA.
Right.
You know, KRS-One and Too Short, you know. Right. So I had both of those things working in me. But the key is I had both. Right. And I think what's happened to hip hop is now there's more of just kind of one way to be able to poetically state something across a hip hop track. And so it's all about money, hoes, and clothes. Everything is about something that's other than, you know, the community and just life in the community. One of the refreshing things is when Drake came out, he could be uniquely Drake and not talk about gangster stuff. But then he moved over to money and power, you know, money, power, and party. And so now you don't really have any alternatives that are popular in culture and in music. But I think that was deliberate. I think you got them out there.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
They just don't get the airplay. And so that's one of the issues that I have. These young guys are so talented. I'm in Atlanta. So you got Lil Baby and all of these guys here, you know, Rick Ross and them, they're here. But at the same time, these have immense talent. But we're not, you know, when Baby did is Bigger Than Black and White. So he had one album, one song that did that. It was phenomenal that the people my age now can connect to him and say, man, he's saying something. Right. At least he's saying something. And that's what we just want somebody, because they have so much influence. I have a 12-year-old now. I'm remarried. We have a 12-year-old. And this kid ain't never lived in no hood. He don't know nothing about no hood. Not all that. But he's so influenced by the images and the power of the hip hop community now. So it's all guns and robbing and stealing and you know, gangster, and they throwing up gang signs for whatever gang they're in. He's influenced by that. So as a parent, it's like, man, it's way more than that. That's not, you don't even know. But I have a real problem with that's the only thing that we're showing from our community. And I think that's pretty deliberate. I think record companies know that sell, and it's easy for people to continue to perpetuate that crazy notion about our people, and particularly Black men and Black women. Black women also, you know, just whores. You know, you know, everything is bending over, everything is sexual, everything is nothing about the, you know, the MC Lights, the Queen Latifahs, the Yo-Yos. We had a whole lot of people. Even Salt Pepper could do party records, but it wasn't whorish. No, so it's a lot that just is not there right now that I wish we could have back in our music. Because it's so strong that you have to fight against it almost. And I'm sure in some of your messages that, you know, something, you know, is said about it, but, you know, it's like I said, it's so strong, it's overpowering that because society loves it now. They even have it in, you know, all the commercials and things of that sort. So absolutely, it's mainstream. Tell me about FAMU. You know what I'm saying? I'm a SWAC guy. I went to Jackson State. J-State. The sonic boom of the South. Yeah. I think we have a 3-0 record against FAMU. We only carry FAMU 3 times. And I always tell Marvin, I said, we 3-0 against FAM. So yeah. But were you there when Dion was at Florida State? Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the all button and all that kind of stuff, because we're going to have a lot of good interviews on this podcast.